Okay, so welcome everyone to the Framework of Universal Law with Sanat Kumara. This is part 2 of this message that was on An Hour with an Angel back in April 2013. And Steve Becko was the host of this show. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. Let's see. Okay, and I need to. Okay, so there we go. There's our title page, Universal Law, the Framework, How Things Work, part 2 with SK. And we'll jump right in. And Steve says, thank you for that, Raj. So whatever that was before that, as you said, we are awakening at this time, going through a very rapid awakening process. And we're also preparing to build Nova Earth, or some of us are actually building Nova Earth. And so do tutor us. What is most important for us to know on the universal law as we approach this awakening and this work? And Raj says, let us talk of a couple of these laws. Let us speak because we have been discussing the nature of universal law. Now, what we will do is talk about one of the laws, which is purpose, sacred purpose. As you are coming to address your divine qualities and your vasanas, it is important to know and to connect with and understand the universal law of purpose. So let me explain again, brief, succinct, and I will absolutely welcome your questions because it will feel very familiar to you. So as you can see, I have connected purpose to the lowest chakra of the 13 chakra system that they taught us. And it's ruby red, also connected to Gaia. And so our purpose here is to help balance humanity on the planet, and first within ourselves. So as within, so without. And somebody asked last week about why there's a 13 chakra system, why the laws are attached to the chakras and the divine qualities and the dimensions. And I realized I didn't really answer that question very well last week. It's to embody everything so that once you know that your chakras spin and they carry all this energy, we're literally embodying the laws, the qualities, the dimensions. So I think this is why they put the whole system together. So now, does anyone have something that they'd like to add to that, or a comment or a question for this screen? Yes, Steve.
Is that your sacred purpose for this lifetime, or is it something broader?
I believe it's for this lifetime, but we come in with purpose. So maybe it's connected to other lifetimes. Probably. I mean, one of our broad sacred purposes is to be of love and to be of joy and to find our way back home. So yeah, it could be broad or it could be specifically for this lifetime. I'm thinking it's probably specific for this lifetime.
Wonder if it could be used with any sacred purpose. If I, for instance, generated a purpose right now that I take on, would it fall under the law of sacred purpose? Do you think?
If it's in alignment, in divine alignment with who you are.
Okay.
Because if it's not, then it won't happen, basically.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But then, yeah, I'm not positive about that, actually, because things can happen that are not in alignment.
But they don't have sustainability. They're not in alignment. They don't have a strong foundation.
Yeah, I think that a foundation would be coming from soul or spirit. And I don't think we have a lot of say over what they do.
Well, the thing with sacred purpose, it emerges when we let go the vasanas. Like purpose, like it just kind of comes forth without even us. It's very natural when we're very clear.
Yeah, I think we come in with our sacred purpose. Huh? And
Yeah.
then we build our intentions on that.
Yeah, but if a lot of people that come into when I'm doing readings, they don't even know they have a sacred purpose, some of them. So I never contemplated sacred purpose before I got to Archangel Michael in 2011. I never really even thought about it.
Yeah, we have to get into our still point to recognize it. Huh?
Yeah, but lots of people don't even know there's a still point. I mean, it's not really taught at school.
No.
Did anybody hear the word sacred purpose at school?
No.
No.
That's what I mean. So, yeah, I guess you can live a whole life without even knowing you had a sacred purpose. Steve, when did you realize your sacred purpose?
Well, it's not that I realized, I was told it.
Exactly, like in 2011 or something, right?
12, 13, Sanat Kumara also said it on one of these shows.
Yeah, this one, I think.
And yeah, oh, and that's a great blessing because otherwise, but I go back to Joseph Campbell talking about follow your bliss. If you did that, you'd be on target.
But most people don't even know that there's bliss to be had in this lifetime.
We don't.
Like humanity of 8 billion people, I mean, how many million understand that we come with purpose? Yeah.
And bliss is available in our hearts. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yes, it's all available if we sit still and we check in with our heart compass. But well, I remember when I told my mom, Archangel Michael said, "Oh, you're supposed to listen with your heart." And I was like, listen with my heart? How do I do that? And I mentioned it to my mom and she said, "Oh, my heart doesn't listen."
That's funny.
So like, I'm like, okay. And so she's how many years older than me? So yeah, I don't know. Like it's a very interesting that we're given this beautiful system of universal laws to study, but look how small our group is too.
Yeah, right. Federation of Light once said, "Love doesn't sell."
No, yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah. And I mean, I've given hundreds of readings and told hundreds of people about this class, and I don't know that one person has shown up.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's just too higher dimensional or I don't really know. So
But don't you think, Kathleen, don't you think that, I mean, I think of people in my children's generation, and I can think of a few people who I feel like they are already living their sacred purpose. Maybe they don't know that's what it is, but they're living in a heart-based, or from the heart, the work that they're doing is from their heart. And so even though they don't know the labels and they don't have the understanding, they still are doing that. And I think that these generations that are coming up are going to be doing this easier and quicker than what we've had to do.
I agree. Totally. I met lots of them in the reading room where they're just so excited about what they're doing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And so when you actually label it, you see them nodding.
Right.
And you ask them if they're really excited about what they're doing and they're just like over the moon. Yeah.
But then the other question I have too is about your vasanas. Like I thought that we were doing that through our whole life.
Doing
like clearing them or is that not something that's a lifelong thing that we work aside with working on our sacred purpose or doing our sacred purpose?
Well, I feel like the vasanas clear out and then purpose emerges more easily. So then you reach new levels of peace and bliss and love. And like I found that there's still vasana with me because
Mhm.
I know some of my lifetimes. I know what I've been through in this lifetime. So
Sure. Sure,
I,
me-
you too.
Yeah, totally. There's still stuff I'm working through right now.
Yeah.
Yes, but isn't there also the idea that vasanas aren't all, what do I want to say here?
Personal?
No, all the time. I mean, obviously, we're not thinking about vasanas all the time, and there are breaks in that. And so that's when bits of sacred purpose would come in, I would think.
Yeah. And we've got Darren with his hand up. Okay, so Darren, did you want to?
Yeah, I would think, that we can clear out our vasanas, if we work at them hard enough. And as well as we don't create new ones. If we create new ones, well, we've got more work to do then.
Mhm.
Or are there layers to that? See, I feel that there's layers to these vasanas. I don't know that we're creating new ones, but there's layers. You get deeper. And maybe you've carried one through from a lifetime or something, and it just, you clear out a layer in this lifetime and up pops the past lifetime one or something. I'm not really sure how that works.
Yeah, I think it's both, really, so.
Yeah, isn't Steve?
Well, don't forget that we're talking about vasanas, but when I grew up, there was no conversation about vasanas till I was, I think about 25.
Mhm.
And then Werner Erhard was talking about records, which is another word for exactly the same phenomenon.
Yeah.
So I mean, you say, don't we clear vasanas over our entire life? I was busy creating them till I was probably about 60, I'd say.
Right.
And then at 65, I had a heart opening and oh my gosh, the cat's out of the bag, right? This is what we want, this love that you feel when your heart is open. Oh my God.
Mhm,
So then I go into overdrive to clear out the vasanas.
mhm. So that you can experience another
More,
flow.
more love,
Yeah.
more love, yeah.
Mhm.
But there was something else. There's only a few people, there's lots of people who talk about vasanas, and especially in the Hindu tradition, but there's only a few people who talk about ways of approaching them. Werner Erhard was one. What's the guy who lives over here? Eckhart Tolle.
Eckhart
Eckhart
Tolle.
Tolle is another.
Yep, and you.
Who, and well, of course, me and you. And some others over in the psychological camp, Gabor Mate.
Mhm.
Gabor Mate.
Yeah.
So way back when, there wasn't a lot of, like, for instance, games people play. Eric Byrne published that book.
Mhm.
And there's nothing in there. It goes through all the games that we play in relationship. There's nothing in there about how to do something about it.
Mhm.
So anyway, so this generation is the one that's really working on its core issues.
And it feels like a certain age group too, like the young ones. Oh, but actually the young ones know how to process.
Mhm. Wow, that's great.
Mhm. Yeah, I watch my daughters. Michaela has a certain way she processes, and Jojo, like,
Wow.
they know, and they, in the counseling sessions, they've been taught to read Eckhart or,
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. My daughter as well. Yeah.
Whoa.
Reading Gabor Mate's book, his newest book right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. That's
Yeah.
remarkable.
And Darren, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think, in the past, in many traditions anyway, it was called karma, so, you look at it from that point of view.
Yes, karma. Yeah. Mhm. Yep. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and now, I mean, at the time that Jesus was on the planet, there was a karmic dispensation. The mother calls it karmic dispensation right now. But she also says that we don't really even need that, because in the higher realms, there's no judgment of anything. We're just really good at judging ourselves. So yeah, so, and in the karmic dispensation law, you literally have to ask for karmic dispensation. But the mother says she's only done that because we feel better about it or something like that.
More formal, probably.
Yeah, but we don't really even need to do that because everything is forgiven.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was a huge message through the mother to me in my last channeling with Linda Dillon. So I knew that was probably what I'm here to explain, is that everything is forgiven. Yeah. And that's why a lot of my postings about vasanas have been, just remember where everything's forgiven, that to be compassion, that non-judgment of everything, and be gratitude to yourself. And that can help release when we're in those states. The vasanas don't have much of a hold. Yeah. All right. Shall we move on to the next one? Okay. Okay. Oh, there we go. We're getting claps from Ken. Okay. So all energy that emerges from the heart of one in whatever form has sacred purpose, expression, direction, and that is also connected to your completion and continuity. Now, the sacred purpose law is the understanding in the universal sense that the purpose of all existence is to love, to be of joy, and to find your way back home. But in that and within that, there are many clauses to this law. Is what is your sacred purpose? How does your purpose, and you and I, my friend, and he's talking to you, Steve, particularly you and Michael, have had this conversation about alignment of purpose. How does your purpose, your expression in this lifetime as a fragment of your broader journey, align with the law of love? So the law of love is another name for the universal laws. And as you can see, I've got completion and continuity connected to the crown chakra. So that was the 13th law that we've learned. And then purpose was, from the root, connected to the root. So anybody want to make a comment about that?
Just that our purpose is the basis of our life, and it's connected to the basic chakra.
Yeah, the root chakra. Yes, exactly. And the root chakra is connected to the void as well. So when we learned about the root chakra and sacred purpose, the meditation, we flew right through that chakra out into the void, and that's the first dimension. And that is the place of ideas, those chemical, electrical ideas, what makes up ideas. Yeah. So, yeah, so interesting. Okay. So, and then being in alignment within ourself, understanding the alignment of the chakras, alignment of the laws and the blessings and virtues and the dimensions helps with us staying in that wide line in the middle. So staying on track and not taking a side route. Yeah. Okay. All right. So SK goes on, Raj goes on, says, so that is the starting point of understanding this journey. What is my sacred purpose? Then there is the law of intent, and it is aligning your entire being, all realms, all dimensions, all realities, all experience, all thought, all emotion with the intent. It is the power of intent, and the mother's intent is that you know and experience love and return home. That is the law of intent. So that is connected to the pubic chakra, the red one. Yes, Ken.
Well, for me, I think a lot of this is still unconscious. Is it necessary that we have deliberate intentions for each of these things that we're talking about? Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
Yeah, so when we studied the law of intent, yes, the daily intention was helpful. SK outlined them. And that's when I talked about that little app that I found that we could state intentions. But I mean, does everybody do that? No.
No, what I meant was, I have up to this point done that unconsciously. And what I'm wondering is it that necessary to make them conscious the way we're talking about now? Does that make sense?
Yes, Steve.
Well, I don't know exactly how to phrase this,
Okay.
but increasing amounts of clarity, shall we say? How do
Okay.
I say this? Consciousness is like, we can be viewed as a wave, energy going out, going wherever. And the clearer we are, or the more positive we are, or the firmer we are, or whatever in the direction of strength of intention, it's registered on the streamers, is what Matthew calls them, of the energy waves that we're sending out that we call consciousness, right? So it has more impact on either the universe or somebody else we're intending to send our intention to or involved in. It has more strength, more power if it's clear, if we are conscious rather. If I was drunk, say, rah, 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 well, that would kind of probably be somewhat scrambled in terms of the waves of consciousness that are emanating from me, right? Probably wouldn't have much impact. It would just kind of fall or whatever. So the more clear we are, the more stronger we are in our commitment, the more powerful this intention is, and the more it commands the attention of our guides and what have you. That's my own hypothesis.
Yeah, so if it's written, if it's drawn, if it's like the way Steve writes, if it's like when I drew a therapeutic community, I drew it up. No, not realizing that part of intention too is balance within the masculine and the feminine within. So when I drew up a therapeutic community for women, guess what transpired? My mom, my daughter, the baby, they're all living together. Like that's I think that's the therapeutic community,
Wow.
which is, yeah. So intentions are very powerful.
Mhm.
So that my question is, if I had intended for it to be a co-ed community, what would have happened? Yeah. Like I was thinking, let's lift the divine feminine. But you see, that's how powerful intentions are. We have to be very careful what we intend. Because we're here to balance the masculine and the feminine. Not to carry any resentment for either or. Yeah, so it really being conscious of what you're holding on to. Yeah. And some, like with my life, it was a lot of abuse. So yeah, unconsciously, I think I was carrying still some resentment. Without really realizing it, thinking that I'd done the forgiveness work. So it's really important to carry both energies in love inside, like the tri-flame, in perfect balance. Yeah. So Darren.
Okay, if you could maybe clarify something here. If I remember correctly, the mother's sacred purpose is for us to love and return home. And now it says here that's a law of intent. So what am I missing here?
Experience love and return home. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the previous one because it said understanding in the universe, the purpose of all existence is to love, be of joy, and find your way back home. So the only thing he didn't put here is here he's aligning your entire being, all realms, dimensions, realities, experience, all thought, emotion with the intent. Mother's intent is that you know and experience love and return home. So the only thing she missed there was joy, but all realms, dimensions, and realities, that contains joy. So she just didn't put the word. Does that make sense?
Well, it seems to me the difference is that in intent, you know and experience, love and return home. Well, the other one is just a purpose to do that. I'm not sure.
Purpose and intent. Well, I guess, well, he's got what is my sacred purpose, the starting point of understanding what is, and then the intent is aligning with everything of love.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm. I don't know if that answers your question. Mhm.
Well, I guess it does in a way that the sacred purpose is just a purpose, while the intent is how you apply your intent to achieve that purpose.
Yeah, the actual alignment, yeah, and achievement, yeah, with intent, with the power of intent, yeah. Mhm. Okay. All right.
Notice that she says, your sacred purpose is the sacred purpose of everyone to love and return home.
Mhm.
Right.
But what she doesn't say is that the purpose behind returning home is that we return home in a moment of our enlightenment, right? We merge with Father, Mother God, Mother, Father, God, whatever. At that moment that we merge with God, God meets God, right? God has an experience of God. Oh, thou I,
Mhm.
right? So that's the sacred purpose of everyone, to go to reach home in order that the one shall have an experience of itself.
Right. So I can hear her right now telling me where I said that creating a therapeutic for women, I actually created a happy family. So by having that, and that's in the Buddha's, when he said what ascension was, it is a perfect relationship, financial abundance, perfect health, a happy family, and fully embodying sacred mission and purpose. And that's what he said ascension is. So I think you can create, I mean, we're here to create. So what we create with the power of intent is an experience. We're right, I guess. I don't know. I just heard her say a happy family, that I created a happy family, which is true. They're very happy. Mhm. Okay, Ken.
Well, I guess my question is, how do I tell if I'm using this from the point of view of my mind or of my heart? Because the way I do it seems the same. Does that make sense? What
Okay,
I'm
so
saying?
yeah, exactly. So from the heart, it's perfect balance. And in the mind, because the mind can be holding resentment towards the masculine or the feminine, or we
Okay.
can create something maybe not of love.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was trying to figure out, the one thing that I came up with, is that I think we've discussed this before, that you have to have the thought and then the emotion comes after that. I think we've said,
Okay. Oh, the feeling.
yeah, I'm sorry, the feeling.
Right. So yeah, so thoughts emerge from the void. Yeah. And then I guess so the feeling is very powerful. Yeah.
Okay, well, what I'm learning to do, I think, is when I recognize that and I say to myself, thoughts, I can stop or if I can stop the thoughts, then I don't go into the negative feelings. Does that make sense?
If you can stop the thought, oh,
In
okay.
other words, if I'm thinking the thought that is going to end up being a negative feeling, if I just stop it at the thought and recognize it, then I don't get to the point where I have a negative feeling. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does actually. That's a way of looking at vasanas.
Yeah, I guess,
Mhm.
because I'm now at the point where I'm trying to interrupt those things, and so that's how I'm
Yeah.
working right now.
Yeah,
And-
so give us an example of a thought that you're having. Say say you catch it.
Oh, okay. Well, anything to do with I'll just give the one that pops into my mind right now is seeing having negative emotions around Black people.
Okay. Yeah,
In
okay.
my ego, the word would become nigger.
Yeah,
But if I interrupt it, or I understand that, or I somehow stop it, then I don't get that far, and then I don't have to feel the negative emotion, which, in addition to feeling it, is it also a punishment.
yeah, or a shame or a guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you stop yourself from saying the word nigger. So, oh, there's a Black person. You stop yourself immediately,
Right.
and then you stop the guilt for having that thought.
Yes.
So it's an interruption.
Well, I also, at that point, also say, I asked the Divine Mother for forgiveness. So that way it doesn't get much further. It stops.
Beautiful. Okay, beautiful. Nice work. That's very good. That's very conscious. So Steve, what do you have to say about that?
Well, that will work if, Ken, if what you're talking about is letting it go, letting the thought go. You know, I have this thought, oh, that's not a thought I'm going to do anything with. You let it go. But if you actually try to resist it, you'll add to the problem.
No, I don't try to
Okay.
resist it.
Okay. I just wanted to check on that.
No, I'm labeling it and then letting it go. Because even today, there was a list of things that I was doing that well, let's see, I went to the doctor today, and I also went to get my back worked on. But I'm getting to the point where I get really tired if I try to feel negatively about it. And so I stop myself, because it's a waste of energy. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
As I say, as long as you're releasing rather than pushing.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Or I don't let it get that far. That to me is releasing, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. So Steve has always said if something comes up, to allow it and not resist it, right, Steve? Like just allow
yeah.
it.
To name it, because the mind works with names. So
Mhm.
maybe it's anger. I mean, that's what it used to be with me a lot.
Mhm.
And then to ask the mind, where does this come from? What's
Yeah.
the question you use, Kathleen?
Oh, I use what is this connected to? And
The
it
past.
usually goes into, it's always connected to the past.
Yes, and the early past often, not always, but certainly often.
Mhm.
And then, but the mind then will shoot you an image, right? And it'll go whoosh right by you. You have to be able to, catch it right away, not settle for the second image, which won't be near as accurate.
Mhm.
And so then you find out, oh, I was tied in my crib and, I was angry.
Mhm.
And at that point, now we're at the heart of it. We're at the place where I created this Vasana. If we then experience the feelings that we had at that time, then we loosen the Vasana. We may have to experience it again and maybe again and again, but we're loosening it at that point. After a while, it won't bother us.
Well, it's in my mind, once I label something and notice that then I don't need to take it any further. I don't need to go into my past and figure it out because
Yep,
I
yep, that can happen.
labeled it and then let it go. So I
Mhm.
guess I don't need to go that
Does it,
far.
does it keep coming up though? Does it keep like, oh,
Some-
there's,
yes, sometimes it does, but if it does, or at least for right now, it doesn't have the power that it used to.
okay, that's good, because maybe you heard your dad say that or something. So maybe there's like, maybe it's connected to a person saying it. And there's like forgiveness, there can be forgiveness around the whole situation, or compassion, or gratitude for seeing that. And experiencing right through, because usually it's connected, something like that is usually connected to you learning it from somebody.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't learn it from my father, but I'm sure there are other people that I did learn it from. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of halfway between what you guys are saying and just forgiving it and letting it go. So even if it does occur, it doesn't seem to have the power that it used to.
Okay,
That's
that's
fine,
good.
whatever works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah, it's
works.
just a different way of approaching it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I
but
don't
then-
think there's any right way. There's lots of different ways to do it.
Yeah, that helps. That helps. That's a good verification that you guys have given me. That's
But
great.
there's
Thank you.
There's another verification when you're working with your issues or bosses or upsets or whatever. The one of the basic premises of this process is the truth will set you free, right?
Hmm.
So if you're processing your Boston, or if you're doing what you were talking about earlier, just letting it go, or
Hmm.
whatever you do, if you feel increasing release, then you're getting at the truth. You're telling the truth, you're seeing the truth of the Vasana. When you see the total, not the total truth, but when you see a certain part of the truth, I don't know what it might be, it will release. The
Mhm.
Vasana will release. So you can use that to say, am I feeling more release? No, I'm not. Well, then you're going down a tunnel with no cheese.
Right.
So
Right.
go another tunnel.
This just happened to me in the past couple of days, so it's really new and I'm not sure what it's all about yet, but it seems to be working.
Yeah, beautiful. Good work. Okay. And Darren, did you want to add something?
I wanted to go back to talking about, the difference between a thought coming from the mind or the heart. And I think really tags on to what Steve was saying. If it comes from the heart, it will feel true. It will feel right. It will have that feeling of being, correct. But if it comes from the mind, not necessarily.
And you can't trust feelings either, because feelings are not divine states. You can trust divine states, but a feeling happens inside me, right? In my head, in my heart, in my stomach, or something like that. I feel sad, my heart feels heavy. But a
Well-
divine state, you are in it.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about, coming from the still point in the heart.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. And one of the things that SK said was, does it feel like love? We all know what love feels like. So yeah, if we really go in within, we all know what love feels like. Mhm. Yeah.
Well, that's why I asked the Divine Mother to forgive me, so that it does feel like love.
Mhm. Nice. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, shall we move
Yeah.
on to the next slide? That was a good discussion. Okay, how does it translate into your world, into your experience in building Nova Earth? So if I may use you as an example, he's talking about you, Steve. Your sacred purpose is very closely aligned with the Divine Mother and Archangel Michael. Steve says, yes, it is to be a communicator of truth and to assist the collective in their awakening and in their understanding of who they are, what their potential is, and to be a vessel of communication for this side, for the company of heaven, for your star brothers and sisters, and for humanity. So your sacred purpose is a communicator and a conduit. The law of intent, as it applies to you in that purpose, is how do you fulfill that sacred purpose with intention that is clearly aligned with your sacred purpose. So I think that makes sense for you.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
But isn't that handy? Most people don't have that.
Well, it must be such a big mission that they wanted to make sure you got it.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
And
Isn't-
publicly.
Isn't part of it also, people don't know to ask for help?
Definitely.
So, I mean, even getting to that awareness is important. And, you know, while this, the rest of what we're talking about is a way of working, if you don't even know to ask for help, then the rest of this stuff isn't there yet.
Well, they won't intervene if you don't ask for help. So, yeah.
Well, I understand that. I know that, but other people may not know that.
Yeah, asking for help. And it takes a lot of self-worth. And there's such a lack of self-worth on this planet. It takes self-worth to ask for help.
Oh, it does? Okay. Didn't even think about that.
Because there's lack of self-love. Underneath all vasanas are lack of self-love and lack of self-worth. So that's the mother and the father energy.
Hmm.
Self-love and self-worth. The father's is more the sunlight of self-worth. Yeah. Okay. So if you, for example, and this is not you, and so I use a far out example, if you choose in that free will zone and the law, the framework of the law is to help you align rather than to make choices that take you away from love. It is very aligned with Jeffrey's green print for life, his life path. So Jeffrey, he was another host for an hour with an angel, and he made something called a green print for life. So that's why that's there, and which is still a website. His website is called that. There are many ways of getting active, but if your intention is, all right, I am well positioned to be a communicator, I know my sacred purpose, but then you say, what I am going to do is to control the flow of information. I'm going to allow disinformation. I'm going to ignore what I know to be true. I'm going to not work as fully as I might. And work has need to be always in balance. That is the reference point. That is the still point. But if your intention is not in alignment with your sacred purpose, then you are not in alignment with a law. Okay, so that's really interesting.
But once again, aren't we preaching to the converted, so to speak?
Yeah, but even when I look at that, choices that take you away from love, and I'm looking at my happy family therapeutic community.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Was I not including the divine masculine in that therapeutic community? You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was making choices. Mind you, with the divine feminine rising, I think there needs to be a place for women to heal. So, because there's been so much abuse, I mean, there's been abuse on both sides. So maybe there's therapeutic communities just for men, and there's therapeutic communities just for women. So, but I'm just saying that it's really good to include both. I have learned from this. Yes, Steve.
Wasn't fast enough to get my hand up.
Yeah.
The Michelangelo companies, the 4 of them, they're going to be affirmative action. So they'll be mostly populated with women. One, I would like women to have access to the executive positions and the ability to play with very large sums of money. Right.
Yeah.
So I don't see any problem with affirmative action programs
For women?
For women in the period of time it takes to write the balance.
Okay.
Whatever that is.
Okay. So that's good to hear. Yeah, I mean, I can't believe how happy they are. So happy. So I get that point, and they're safe. They're
Yeah.
really safe. And they're
Yeah.
all like, it's a really beautiful thing that's happened. But yeah, you're right. There's a time for balancing, because
Balancing.
there's been so many abuses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and Darren.
Yeah, from what I understand, that women will be leading in that healing process. So there probably needs to be, that in the beginning, especially to get the healing started, so that once the women are healed, then the families will be healed almost automatically after that.
Yeah, it's just a good idea if you are creating, to create the balance as well from my experience. To make sure that like if you are creating, add in so there is balance with the masculine in the creation. So you're looking at the big picture as well. If it's a big creation, having that balance in there too, I think is really important, because that's key to the planet imbalance, is equal love for the masculine and the feminine.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So what we really have here is a way of working with our vasanas to find our balance, and therefore be able to help other people.
Yeah, exactly. To find that balance within ourself, and then it extends into partnerships and into families and into communities and to the world. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I mean, the tri-flame is perfect balance. Yeah. Okay. Let's go on. Every intention, big, small, and in between, the intention to live a life of purity, of grace, but that is reflected into action. It is reflected into the qualities of kindness and truth speaking and sharing and tenderness and mercy, cooperation and compassion. So if your intention then does not translate into the practicality, not only of your actions, but your feelings and your thoughts, because there are many, many on earth who, for example, will do what appears to be the right thing, but they do it because they want to appear to be kind or generous or thoughtful or sincere, but the intent is not there. What they are doing is they are working from an ego place, or they are taking an action because they think they have to, but in fact they are angry. What is your expression? Mad as hell. So that intention just went awry, did it not? So this has been a really good one for me, because I have been angry with the masculine. So I just have to make sure that all that is let go. And yeah, that I'm not creating from that place. And that brought us to silence. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else have any thoughts in there? Or angry with the feminine? I mean, it doesn't have to be just me being angry at the masculine.
Yeah, we don't want to get you angry. That's right.
Yeah, Steve.
Well, it's interesting because I'm listening to what you say. We have different views of balance, right? Your view is like this, right? I think
With the masculine and the feminine, like the tri-flame.
yes, they're equal.
And a triangle. So mom, dad, masculine, feminine, and the self, the child. So everything in balance. That's like the tri-flame.
Right. Whereas my view of balance is distance from the center. See, I don't know if you've ever had, well, I think we've all had this, dials that when we pushed it from the center, it got louder. It's called volume control, I guess.
Yeah.
So volume control, you push it, it gets louder. And that's what life is like, right? We push the volume to either extreme, either fear or anger, and the volume gets louder, right? When we come to the center, then all of that quiets down, dies down, and we reach still point. Still point is a launch point into one of the divine states, right? So anyway, I'm just thinking it's because when I listen to you about the male and the female, I have to put on a different set of ears, so to speak.
Mhm.
And you know, and remember that that's a different view of balance.
Right. So, okay, so in the Council of Love teachings, they take us through the heart chakra, through the Hridayam, into the golden chambers, it, you know, behind the tri-flame, basically, and to sit there in the still point. And so, yeah, that, I mean, obviously, I don't know that they call that balance, maybe. I'm
Well,
not sure.
balance is more being in the center where there is no noise, where
Mhm.
point, as Darren said.
Okay, so, and Ken, did you have something to say?
Well, yeah, it's like, at first we were given, or we grew up with, or we started with a way of expressing ourselves that other people may not understand. And so by using what we're learning, we're able to understand other people and what they want, and also to provide them with understanding so that they can understand what we are, or what we want, or what we're doing.
Mhm,
Does that make sense?
mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so, and it's almost like the Council of Love, way of explaining things, it's almost like learning a new language too. Remember when we had to learn computer language? And it was like a whole new language. And so this is too, the way they're explaining, you know, they're expanding our understanding of certain concepts.
Right.
Like, and the divine qualities, they expanded like crazy, like the way they look at them, and the laws too. So, and now Steve has expanded our, you know, how to think about balance as the still point. Mhm. Okay, it's all good. Let's,
Even listening to somebody like a planetary logos expands our thinking and understanding.
oh, absolutely.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so on we go. And Raj says, or I am doing it because I am afraid. If I don't do it, I am going to get in trouble, either in trouble with the law, with my wife, with my husband, with my children, with my neighbor, or with God. Well, that is not good enough. That is not the alignment with the law. So the emotional component, the mental component, you cannot think, well, I will do this, so I will be in alignment, but I really think this is a bunch of hogwash. No, everything, all parts of you, and that is why you come to the still point of your heart and your knowing it has to be in alignment. Now, do we force it? Are there punitive ramifications if you do not adhere to the law? Well, the punitive ramifications, and you have seen many, is that life doesn't work. It is not joyful, it is not loving, it is not sustainable, it is not rewarding, it does not feel good. And you see this every day on the streets of every country. You see this in the quiet of homes where people isolate in desperation. So he wants us to be practicing the still point and the alignment with universal law, emotional, mental, and not wondering if we're going to get in trouble. Like that's the difference with human law. We don't really think about it until we get in trouble. Like when we break a speed limit, or I mean, we get caught breaking a speed limit, then we're like, oh no. But we'll speed until we get caught.
Yeah, well, human law is all about punishment and control. It's not about divine love at all, or divine law.
Yeah. Yes. So yes. So universal law aligns more with nature and with the still point and alignment. Yes. and all parts of us. And not doing it because we think we're going to get in trouble. Yeah. Just being the law. So this is where the chakras come in. When the chakras are all aligned, we're embodying the law. So we're here to embody it. It's a very natural thing. Universal law is a very natural thing. It aligns with nature. It aligns with being like a tree. A tree just is, and the universal laws just are. Like a tree doesn't get caught in drama. So when we're aligned with universal law, we're not getting caught in drama, whether it's within or without. So I think this is why they've aligned them with the chakras and the colors and the movement of the chakras. Okay. So the ramifications aren't what comes from on high. The concept of punishment, of judgment, is a human construct, not a divine one. But are there ramifications? Yes, because what you're doing individually and collectively is hurting yourself, making yourself miserable. Now, I know as I say this as your tutor, there are some of you who are listening this night who are saying, well, that's terrible. He's putting it all on us. No, my beloved friends, I'm not putting it all on you. What I am saying is there's a body of understanding that if you adhere to, you will fly free. So it is part of the collective education and evolution because you have decided to come as one, even those who are in the, shall we say, the undecided group. So this is the law of intent. So if we adhere to universal laws, we will fly free. And we all decided to come as one. So there was a collective decision back in 2012, I believe, December, that we all wanted to ascend together.
Yeah, well, it's just like if you build an airplane, if you don't build it according to law, it's not going to fly.
Okay.
You know, the laws of physics or aerodynamics.
Right. And universal law aligns with physics, with nature.
Well, with nature, yeah. Divine law.
Yeah. 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 Okay. All right. So then Steve says, can you distinguish the difference between the divine qualities and the universal law? And Raj says the universal law, think of it as the framework, which if adhered to and followed, allows the divine qualities to thrive. They are completely interconnected. So think of it as the structure, the laws, the steel girders, the 2x4s, the foundation, and the qualities are the covering and the innards of the building. And Steve says that's helpful, Raj. So you cannot separate them because when you are in the purity of adherence to the law, then you're practicing, you're living the law and the divine qualities. So you cannot separate these out. If you have one, you have the other. So the reason I did this, it was foundation, pillars, 2x4s, foundation, 2x4s, steel girders, that. So that's inside this other building that is the covering and the innards. And the interesting thing about the innards of the building, they can move, like the curtains can move and the chairs can move. And so the divine qualities are actually movement and stillness, blessing and virtue, whereas the laws are the framework. So that's the interesting thing about this analogy, metaphor of the steel girders, 2x4s, and the foundation, and the covering and the innards. Covering in the innards, stillness and movement, and the framework is more stillness. Yes, Ken.
I'm not sure this is right, so I want to get your guys' opinion on this. But to me, it seems like the framework is the large chunk portion, and then each of the divine qualities are the smaller chunk. Does that make sense? Do you understand?
Yeah, but I think they're equal.
Okay,
Yeah, you cannot have one without the other.
okay.
So the framework, yeah. I don't know that, I don't know if you can think of one as bigger, well, unless the framework. Well,
I've
you know
always,
what? He does explain the framework a little farther along. He calls it,
Okay.
yeah, so, yeah, you could be right there. So does anyone else have anything to say about this? No? Okay.
so the framework is how you defines the parameters of your existence, right?
Right.
But when you're inside the house, sitting in the living room, looking at the wallpaper or whatever,
Mhm.
it's experience. You're experiencing it, right? You don't experience the framework of the house, but you do experience the divine qualities, for sure. So that's my own cut.
Right, so would you say you don't experience the law of intent? Or the law of sacred purpose?
I'm not aware of, I don't think of it as I am experiencing the law, no.
But we experience our sacred purpose, though.
We experience sacred purpose. Oh, that's, yeah, I don't know what to say about that.
I think he did use the word experience back when
Okay.
he explained sacred purpose.
All right.
Yeah, so,
Divine qualities are 100% experience, right? Love,
yeah,
joy, or happiness. It's one
yeah.
thing about them, if they're a divine state, they are total, right?
Okay, well, think of karmic dispensation. That's forgiveness.
Yes, and but
That's experience.
forgiveness is.
Yeah, and that's karmic dispensation.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, but forgiveness is the divine quality.
Yeah, but,
Karmic
but what do you
dispensation.
call, yeah, what do you call karmic dispensation, though?
It's a law. A law
Okay.
of karmic dispensation.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, we'll go back at the end to see what he says about if sacred purpose is an experience. I think you did use that word, but we'll just see. Okay, Ken.
You know, it very well could be that.
Okay.
Well, I'm wondering now that maybe the divine qualities are another way of looking at the framework. So maybe they're not nestled one the small chunk and one's large chunk, but maybe they're just another way of talking about this particular way of doing things.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Okay, now Steve has another really good question. I think it's this one. Oh, no, it'll be the next one. Okay, so it is an understanding and you're hungry, not simply you, dear heart, but all of you, you are hungry for more information. How do we construct Nova Earth in a way that truly is different? So if you say, well, we all practice the divine qualities, then we will be there. And to this, I say, yes, you will be. But if you want to understand how it works, how those divine qualities reflect to the framework laid out by the Mother, Father, One, then this is how. And then Steve says, can you tell us any good, acceptable sources on the universal law? What about the law of one by Ra? And Raj says the law of one, the law of love yourself and love your neighbor. We are not talking about biblical truth here. The law of the divine qualities. There are many, 4 agreements, 5 agreements. Anything that is written by the Dalai Lama explains this journey and understanding. So it is not that the information has not been out there. It is more that the human beings, and we do not mean the light workers necessarily at all, but the human beings have not been eager to adopt this blueprint as the blueprint upon which everything else is formulated. Okay, so that's another interesting way to look at that. Any questions about that? That's a really good statement, how those divine qualities reflect to the framework laid out by the Mother, Father, One. And this is how. You want to understand how it works. Yeah. That's a good one to ask yourself if we're struggling with a Vasana. Okay, but let's go on. Steve, these are just in the end thoughts in the mind of God, are they not? And Raj says, it is not, it is the thoughts or the existence. That is correct. It is not what you think of as random thoughts. It is a construct of creation. And Steve, is it correct to say that they come only from the mind of God, or does the angelic realm play a role in the formulation? And Raj says, no, the angelic realm does not play a role. And Steve, so only God. And Raj, the angelic realm adheres to universal law. They may have a different emphases and different laws that they look at because they are operating in a different sphere, and therefore they are, shall we say, blessed or visited with different thoughts from the source one. No, these are laid down, given, shared, however you wish to conceive of this directly from one. And Steve, so the plan is for us all to return home, as you've called it, through realizing our true identity as God. And the laws are there to equip us, to orient us in this journey, to orient you. It is like what you say. So many of you in your vehicles have MapQuest or GPS. This is your universal GPS. So he's calling the laws our universal GPS. And I'm just checking. I mean, we're almost done. What are we at? Oh yeah, we're just after 6. Do you want to keep going to the end? I think we're almost there. Okay.
Right.
And oh yeah, this. Okay. Okay, so then Raj goes on, there is a law of unification, and that is part of what you're working on in building Nova Earth. The unification is the deep understanding that all things everywhere throughout the omniverse are unified as one. So as you are traversing and making your journey, you are also doing so through that interconnectedness, not only to the heart and essence of one, but to everything. That is why this decision by the human collective to go forward as one in many ways in my role as planetary logos makes sense, because it adheres to that law of unification. It is in a tacit and actually very active understanding that you are united, that one does not travel alone. So while you think or feel or know or believe that you are on this journey back, you are also on this journey with everything. There is only one grid, that is the law. Okay. All right, and then Steve has a really good question. And Raj says a very important question. Okay, how else would you travel? You cannot be jumping from grid to grid to grid to grid. Now, does it stretch? Are there times when you access a different portion of the grid by changing dimensions or going through wormholes or black holes or white holes? Yes, but it is still one. And Steve says, but the grid, just by calling it a grid, you have distinguished it from, say, all or one or God. And Raj says the totality of the grid is God. And that was a very important question. So does that make sense now, Steve?
Yes, it does. Yeah. Yeah, you can't think about it with our ordinary logical material mind. It's not material, it's not logical.
Right. And I think the grids are connected to the laws as well. The grid is to the universal laws. The golden grid, because the laws are golden too. Yes, Ken.
Well, I think we have to have some way of talking about this. So all the things that we're discussing, whether it's the grid or the framework or the divine qualities, is a way of giving us so that we can use this information and have a way of talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's just new languaging and a way to explain it. Yeah.
I can't think of another time when I've had these matters explained to me, you know.
Yeah, this is a really good channeling.
I'm not aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he said that's a very important question what you asked.
Mhm.
Just by calling it a grid. Yeah. And I think if you go back, so there's only one grid, that is the law with everything. There's only one grid. Yeah. Okay. And it's God. The totality of the grid is God. Okay. So how, okay, so we are, I wonder how many more we have. Shall we continue this on Friday?
Sure.
Okay. And
Up
we
to
can,
you.
we can quickly go over and then get to these ones that we missed, and go deeper into them. But yeah, I think it's a good one. We've gone into a lot of stuff here. Okay. All right. So let's come out. And
Mm.
let's just see how, yeah, there's only a couple more slides. But
Okay.
we'll have something to go over on Friday. Oh, and was somebody writing messages?
Yeah, we had a new attendee, Gerard.
Oh,
Yeah.
and he didn't stay?
No, he stayed until about a minute or two ago. Yeah, I think when you said it was over, I think he left.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm just gonna stop the recording now.